So, hi everyone. Hope you're having a good day. It's a great Sunday. Most of us should have off tomorrow for President's Day. My name is Dave Sutliff Atias. I'm running for City Council in the East District, and I'll be taking Elaine Spall's place. She is not running for re-election. She's spent 12 years in that seat, and I appreciate the work she's done, but it is time for some new blood, and I hope to be that person. And I think well, I'll start off by saying this. I really appreciate all of the comments and the conversation I had with people from last week's conversation we had on policing and the Police Accountability Board and the substation and all that. Not everybody agreed with some of the things I had to say, and that's okay. I expect that's going to happen. But we had a really great conversation amongst the people who agreed and disagreed. So I hopefully will spur another conversation tonight on our schools, because they are in trouble. But look, we're not alone. I'm going to go ahead and say most schools are in trouble in the United States, but I'll get to that a little bit more towards the end. So feel free, chime in, let me know. I will do my best as I'm going along, is trying to respond to comments and questions, or I'll save them all till the end. We'll best I can. So last week, I had mentioned this. I had gotten into a conversation online with someone about schools, and while City Council has no real responsibility on the daily operations of the city school district. Neither does the mayor. And that's a good thing. We need to keep that way. I want to get to that in a second. But they do have some control over the budget, which I'll talk about soon. And they can do things that can help children, thus helping schools. And that's what I want to talk about, because right the day after we did the Facebook Live last week, then Assemblyman David Gantt dusted off that crusty old proposal for mayoral control. And coincidence, I'm sure, but that really got me, all right, we got to talk about education, and because I'm running for City Council, just what City Council can do. So let's start with mayoral control is a horrible idea. It has never worked in any city that has tried it. And this isn't anything about our current mayor. I wouldn't have trusted Tom Richards with it. Duffy, Johnson, that's not their role. You should leave education to the educators, and that even includes administrators in the Rochester City School District. But again, I'll actually give you my 2 cents on that at the end about what the schools should be doing. But there's plenty of stuff online about that, and I'll direct you to that down the road. First thing I'll say, in the comments, I'm going to be putting a link to an amazing video from Richard Wolf. And if you don't know who he is, you should totally check him out. And his latest video blog, whatever you want to call it, I get his show. I made sure when I helped start Rochester Free Radio that we had his show on RFR, and we still do there. That's awesome, even though I'm not a part of the station anymore. I get his show by podcast, and it's really cool. So in the links, after this is over, I'm going to post a link to his latest show. Has to do with education and socialism. It's really, really good. You should totally check that out, and I really enjoy his show each week. So the role of City Council and the mayor and Assemblyman Gantt is not in the day-to-day operations of the Rochester City School District. But they definitely can do things, and not only can, they should be doing these things anyway. If they would focus on what they should be doing and not worrying about how the city school district operates, then I think the schools will be much better off. And what I'm saying is that they should be doing things, and it's stuff that's already on my platform plank, and there's going to be more stuff on that at dayforchange.org that help the lives of kids outside of school, because they bring so much baggage and trauma when they get into school. Worrying about the tests they have to take is just so far down on their list of things to do. They come in angry, they're upset, and it has nothing to do with school, but what happens in school just exacerbates it. So what City Council, the mayor, and Assemblyman Gantt should be doing is focusing on a few things, and I've already called for some of these. One of them is expanding library hours. There is absolutely no reason that a library should be closed on Sunday, and it should be open at least 8 hours every day, 7 days a week, barring holidays, of course. But that's something that should be happening. And library budgets have been going down, not even maintaining. So that's something that they should be working on. Assemblyman Gantt could be able to find money for that, like he's found money for red light cameras and a bunch of other things. My one slipping a little. Also, same thing with recreation centers and their hours. Their budget's been going down. Their hours have been cut. That recreation centers should be open 7 days a week and even into the later hours. Heck, we used to do midnight basketball. There was some pros and cons with that, but we should be looking at something like that. There should be more opportunities for recreation. And I'm going to put a little asterisk with that and not connected with the police department. See my talk from last week. We have a teen jobs program. It's way too small. It needs to be blown up. It needs to be expanded. We need to be spending money on that. Assemblyman Gantt, City Council, and the Mayor, there's definitely money in the budget. And something that's coming out soon, I'll be putting out, are my proposals for how we can be saving money and raising money to be able to pay for all of the things I'm talking about. We have the money. We have the ability to be able to spend money on this stuff, and we should be. So we got increased library hours, increased recreation center hours, and expanding the teen jobs program. And I'll say this too, that it should not be limited to just to kids who are passing all their classes. I think it's a bad idea because the kids that aren't passing their classes, they're the ones we need to reach. And they're the ones that we need to make sure that they have stuff to do. I'm not saying that these jobs that they would be getting should do more than school is more important, but you need to give them something else to do. I know personally, this doesn't mean anything. When I was in school, my grades were always best when I was playing sports because I was so busy. But when I had more free time after school, my grades dipped a little bit. I mean, I wasn't failing anything, but they weren't as strong as they were when I was doing stuff because I was so busy and I had to budget my time. So I would not put parameters on this that you have to keep grades passing. Because if your grades are really, really bad, there should be other interventions. There just should. And if someone's really in a hole academically and they're not able to earn any money and they're not maybe helping their family out or anything, that's going to lead them to quit school, actually, to be honest with you. And then getting into the more nefarious ways of making money, which I'm sure will be a topic that we'll be talking about at some point during from now till November. All right, what else? So we need some measures to reduce crime. And that's going to have a lot of effects on our kids and their families, which will mean less stress on them as they go to school. Now, some of the things I've put on my platform at dayforchange.org. I'll keep plugging that, but I'll be adding more as well. But some of the things to reduce crime include creating jobs, and that's a whole thing. It's going to be a talk in itself. Single-payer healthcare. City Council, and I'm going to have a plank on this, we can't implement single-payer healthcare in the city of Rochester, but we sure could be pushing our state and federal lawmakers to get moving on this, to make it not based on employment. And single-payer healthcare would alleviate so much stress in our families, which would help our kids, which would help them while they're in school. And we need to go to something that's called restorative justice. I did mention this last week, and I do have it up on the website, dayforchange.org. And it has to do with being less punitive in how we deal with crime, because what's happening now, especially for the low-level stuff, families are getting broken up, and you have parents who are incarcerated for really social issues, really, that we need to be taking care of, that there's social injustices and some systemic racism that puts a lot of people of color behind bars. And the whole thing with cash bail, that needs to be eliminated, but that's not a city thing. I don't think we have jurisdiction on that. But going to a more restorative justice model here in the city of Rochester will keep families intact, will really alleviate a lot of stress within families, which means the kids will be a lot more, will have a lot less trauma in their life that they'd be bringing over to schools. Along those lines, housing. We need to treat housing as a human right. I have a huge platform plank at dayforchange.org on the things that we can do for not only home ownership, but rentals as well. And if we take care of that, again, that will make the kids' lives better, thus making their lives better in school. Participatory budgeting, I also added that to this as well. And the reason for that, if you take a look at what just happened with the Rochester Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative, or RMAPI, they did a thing with participatory budgeting. It was for the whole county, and I'm calling in, it's at the website, on this to get totally expanded just for the city of Rochester and having millions of dollars available each year for sections of the city to be able to do participatory budgeting, and for specific things that would help kids in their lives, not even if it's not academics, that the things that a neighborhood can use this money to come up with ideas that help them would really do a lot as well. And then I have one that's kind of special to me, and this could transition us into what we should be doing in schools. Actually, you know what? Let me hold on to that. Let me bump down to one again. To one, I'll come back to that. City Council and the mayor. I don't know if you are aware of this, but the city does give like 114, 18, I can't remember, 100 and somewhere there, $1 million a year towards their budget, and that hasn't increased in at least a decade. It might be more. And actually, the city school district, if they wanted to, their lawyers could sue, because there was a legal decision a while back where if the city gains more revenue through property taxes, a portion of that, and whatever the percentage is, has to go to the city school district within that 100, in addition to that 118 million a year that we give. So really, they should be getting more legally, but we should be expanding that to give the city school district more money anyway. And I don't believe we have, there's not supposed to be any stipulations on what they're supposed to do with the money, to the best of my knowledge. But that would help the school district as well in terms of their budgeting, because they have deficits every year as well. And they can't do the things that the city government can, which I'll talk about in another Facebook talk, as well as at the website. All right, so one thing I would like to see happen that the city has something to do with, but it also would be in conjunction with the city school district, is we need to maybe not like Monday this is one way and Tuesday is totally different, but I'd like to see us start transitioning to have fewer and fewer police officers and metal detectors in our schools. Now, I know what you're saying, but then chaos will reign. Well, talk to someone who's in a city school, whether it's a kid or a teacher or something. Chaos is reigning right now. And while schools need to be doing some things differently, which I'll talk about in a second, but getting rid of the police and things like metal detectors and calling the police for a lot of infractions in school, and I know that there are folks working towards that anyway, I think would really help create a climate in our schools that would foster learning. And when you have police officers in uniform in schools, that's it sends a real specific signal to our kids and what we value and how we value them. And the city can be working as part of the RPD to get police out of our schools and come up with a different way of helping kids with behavioral issues. And so that's what I'll get into right now, is what the school district can be doing. Now, this is not a part of what I can do as a city council member when you elect me in November. But for those who don't know, I am an educator. I've been working with kids for over 30 years, in educational settings, recreational, residential, and just about every possible way you can work with kids, I have. I've taught in the residential treatment facility program at Rochester School for the Deaf. I've taught at St. Joseph's Villa, and was called that. Now it's the Villa of Hope. I've taught in the city. I've taught special ed, regular ed. I am certified. Okay, I don't know what's going on. So I'm getting comments that I'm not quite making out very well. So I have a background in education, and I've taught some of the, for lack of a better term, the toughest kids to teach. Ones with behavioral problems, with academic issues, learning disabilities, and the gamut. And currently, I'm teaching in the high school equivalency program at the Ontario County Jail through Wayne Finger Lakes BOCES. So and I'm teaching more of the under 21. So it's still youth, young adults. So that's my background. And we need to get away from treating our kids as data generators, and just worrying about testing and what grades they're going to get and their scores. And that's not saying that all day school should be sitting around in a circle, doing kumbaya and stuff like that. Although a little bit of that doesn't hurt. But what we really should be focusing on, kids gaining skills and showing that they can do things. Now, taking tests and creating busy work that allegedly shows that they can read and write and do arithmetic, doesn't really show anything. And when even folks who graduate from the city school district, we know, and again, this isn't just Rochester, we know that they're going to college, if they do go to college, without the skills to be even successful there, more or less, in a job. And if you look at the New York State Performance Assessment Consortium, I believe School Out Walls is still a part of that, and most of the other schools are down in New York State. But you can have elementary schools doing this sort of stuff that's more project-based learning. If you treat the kids with respect, and I don't think we're doing that with our curriculum. I'm not even going to talk about how the teachers interact with kids. That it's a different thing, and I agree with folks like Howard Eagle, and I do think there needs to be some anti-racism work, whether it hurts white people's feelings or not. Just they got it. You got to suck it up and deal with it. But I'm just talking about the curriculum. What happens in that classroom on a daily basis in terms of what we're going to learn and how we're going to learn it. And the way we teach kids all over the country in our public schools does not show them the respect that they deserve. And they should be fighting back, and they should be voting with their feet and leaving. And if they're not going to leave because they're told they can't leave, then they act out. And I think that changing the curriculum is really, really important. And if you go to, I know I keep doing this, if you go to the website, daveforchange.org, and you go to that in the issues tab, you go to the education link, and within that is another link to a radio show I did when I was the co-host of Transforming Rochester. And Alex was out of town, and I had the whole hour to myself, and it was just my putting it out there on what we should be doing in schools. And it's an hour long, so you can listen to it in chunks, and it's downloadable, so you can check that out. And that's what I think we should be doing in schools. But as someone who's running for city council, there is absolutely no way we should have mayoral control of our schools. City council shouldn't be up in that in terms of the day-to-day operations of how schools should run. They should have no say in what happens with our schools other than as individual taxpayers. And Assemblyman Gantt, as well as city council and the mayor, need to focus on dealing with poverty and housing and the stuff that matters in kids' lives outside of school so that they don't bring those issues into the classroom. That's what should be happening. So if you have any comments, I'm just about done. That's it. I'm just about out. Like last week, I'm going to take this video and I'm going to post it on YouTube, and it'll be captioned. And I've been trying to do captioning on Facebook. I'm having an issue with that. I haven't quite worked that out yet. And anybody wants to give me advice, you're more than welcome to. But on this video, whether it's at YouTube or on Facebook, if you're watching this not live, feel free. You can message me, email me, throw some comments on here. I will definitely respond to them. I'd love to have a dialogue on this. If you think there should be mayoral control, let me know why. Change my mind. Because when you elect me to city council, then hopefully I will get to vote on some of this stuff. And I want to have everybody's opinion, and I want to take all that into heart. Now, if I disagree with you, if you haven't changed my mind, I'm not gonna support mayoral control. But like I said, let me hear it. Change my mind. Okay, one last thing. If you've gotten into last week's video when we talked about policing, or this one on education, and you get a chance, we're doing a thing with this campaign, not taking any contributions from corporations or PACs or any kind of groups like that. And we're looking to get 1,000 people to donate $20 each. So if you get a chance, back to the website, daveforchange.org. There's a donate button, and we're just hoping 20 or whatever you can give, and that's going to go for everything we're trying to do with the campaign. And I'm trying to make every single thing that we do, that we buy, any kind of campaign lit, swag, if you want to call it that, we want to have it that it's something useful that you can use outside of the campaign. And we're just, actually I put in the order for the campaign lit. It's going to be really cool because one side is the usual campaign politicky stuff, and the other side is actually something really, really neat that you'll use outside of the campaign. But to pay for all that stuff, need a little help. So if you can go to daveforchange.org and the donate button, $20, you can have change for a 20. That's our little thing. All right, I'll be back next week, and I have plenty of things we can talk about. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but I'll see what happens in the news, and we'll try to connect it to that as well. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate your support and your dialogue and your ideas. And we got a long way to November, but this is going to be fun all the way through. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.